Wait a second, I'm going to show up there. All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. This is the South Florida Tech Podcast, a weekly show where we bring you the awesome, innovative people building our South Florida tech community. Each week, we'll introduce you to one of the Sunshine State's top tech leaders, learn more about who they are, what they do, and have some fun conversation along the way. Our podcast is, of course, presented by the Palm Beach Tech Association, a nonprofit dedicated to building South Florida into a tech hub. And I'm your host, Joe Russo, President and CEO, and joined by my illustrious co-host today, Joanna Mikkola. Hey, Joanna.
Hey guys, great to be here. My name is Joe, the Joe and Joe Show. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wyncode Academy, and really looking forward to the conversation today.
Awesome. And of course, our podcast is sponsored by Emerge Americas as well. Each year, global enterprises, disruptive technology, and elite startups are highlighted at Emerge's premier tech event, Connecting the Americas. The event is held in Miami Beach, which to date has hosted organizations from over 40 countries and featured over 250 speakers from around the world. Emerge is transforming the South Florida Tech Hub by connecting all of us. So thank you so much to the team over there for everything that they do and for supporting our podcast. Our guest for today is John Machado. He's the Chief Technology Officer at the Ultimate Kronos Group, one of the leading technology companies here in South Florida, and a global provider of HCM, payroll, and workforce management solutions to companies all over the world. Before starting as CTO, he was the Senior Vice President of Development, and similarly is leading technologists in all parts of UKG's company to really help build the company and its products forward. When not in the office, John enjoys spending time with his wife and his children, Christopher and Samantha, while sipping on hot cups of cafe con leche. John is also a member of our board of directors and a really amazing fellow. John, thank you so much for joining our podcast today.
Well, thank you, Joe and Joe. It's an honor to be here. Glad to be here. And a shout out to Emerge. They are a great group and foundation. So big supporter. So.
Yeah, looking forward to us being able to go to that awesome event again here, hopefully in not too long. But John, why don't you just get us kicked off and give us the elevator speech and what you do with UKG, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'll start with, so the Ultimate Kronos Group is the combination of formerly Ultimate Software with Kronos Software that came together basically about 9 months ago in the merger of the two companies. Ultimate Software, previous to the merger, 6,000 person company focused most on North American customers around human capital management software. It's kind of what we've been in South Florida since its inception and founding almost 30 years before the merger. So we've been here in South Florida since the beginning with our headquarters. We still keep a headquarters here, even as UKG. Our sister company that now is together is Kronos. They're in Lowell, Massachusetts, and they were a world leader in workforce management software. And so we came together this year, and I have the honor and privilege of leading thousands of technologists in that great group as the Chief Technology Officer. And basically, most of my focus is on building and delivering world-class human capital management software for our customers, as well as leading and guiding the technology strategies for the combined company. Been with Ultimate, now UKG, because it carries over, about 13 years, and started as basically was hired to build the first infrastructure as a service concept for the beginning of hosting our software 30 years ago at Ultimate. So it's been a fun ride.
That's pretty amazing. Being anywhere in tech for 13 years is a testament to good times. So I hope we're going to dive into that more and uncover those good times. But the other thing I was just thinking, hearing you talk and talk about the merger and how long you've been there is, wow, like it's one thing to merge teams, but also to merge technology and probably offering, product offering and service to clients. And I bet that must have been such an experience. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about that and talking about UKG, and also, not only that journey and process, but a little bit about what differentiates you guys from, other HCM solutions.
Sure. Definitely not an easy thing to do, to bring two companies of the exact same size, revenue, everything. We're basically mirror images of each other from a business perspective. And then you throw a global pandemic in the middle of it. So it has been interesting on the timing, as we closed, I believe, I want to say first week of April on the merger. So we like to joke, we got about 3 months of that pre-close date time together, and thought, okay, this will all be easy and we'll rule the world, and then had a global pandemic hit. So that added some layers, you could imagine, to bringing that together. The one thing, though, that has made it possible, I wouldn't even say easier, but possible, is that both companies had very similar backgrounds. They had strong founders with strong principles that were very similar. And those things are kind of what our secret sauce is, which is, it starts with, it's in our tagline, our purpose is people. Both companies had very strong beliefs that the most important thing that you can do as a service provider or software provider or any provider of anything is take care of your customers. And that is very strong and built into both. The other thing that's a little different that both had, though, also, is that both companies and founders believe that the best way to take care of your customers is to take care of your people, to take care of your own employees that take care of those customers. And so that we had very, very similar principles, and that really helps along the way when you are making decisions, that at least you're coming at it from a very similar perspective, and that you're leveraging common principles when making those decisions. So definitely a lot of that going on with putting the customer and the customer experience as the driver. And when you do that, it starts to really make a lot of decisions a lot easier, because you don't really get into a tug of war. Well, this is how we did it. This is how we want to do it, or this tech is better than that. It's step back, forget the past, let's look forward. What's the best path forward for our customers? And we've really used that as kind of the compass. And that has really helped us navigate through this effort. But it's still not simple when you are bringing two 6,000 person companies together. The other, though, cool thing that was interesting and what made us so compatible wasn't just our philosophies and our principles. It was also rare that, although we were both in similar markets, we only had about 18% overlap of customers. So to have two, multi-billion-dollar a year revenue companies have less than 20% overlap, that also allowed a lot of space to say we each have these customer groups that we've got to take care of, and they don't overlap. So we really do have an opportunity here to potentially sell more to those customers, help them in ways we couldn't have before when we were separate, as well as now change the dynamic of what we consider market scope for the existing products we have. So all of that kind of came together with its goods, its bads. But yeah, it's been a fun 9 months so far, but progressing nicely.
That's great. I mean, pretty amazing to hear that also on the market. Like, sounds like such a huge win. So that's great. Really exciting stuff.
And, on that same point, one of the fun parts of, I think, the new company is the logo is actually a smiling face of sorts. And as you can probably see in the background there, but the whole idea of that is UKG and its software and its solutions are making people happy, making employees happy. And how does UKG kind of more or less direct its efforts to that? Like, hey, we're kind of a force for good. We're a company to help people and make people happy.
Yeah, it starts with the culture, and the culture has always been one. As I mentioned, like it grew from. I'm sure at some point both companies were formed to make money, which is what all companies are made in some form or fashion to do. But along the way, as they were making money, both in their own ways, came to the conclusion that um, it's just as important to create an environment, a place, a space that you are improving the lives of your employees while helping and trying to also improve the lives of other companies, people. Being in HCM and human capital management, basically our function is to create value for companies in how they lead and manage their most important resource, asset, are people. And so it's by design that we kind of sip our own champagne and learn the best practices for running, managing, and leading people through our own operations first, but then we want to figure out the technology and tools that help us do that. We want to turn that around, build that, and offer that to our customers. And so it's something that I think could translate for sure into other industries. But boy, talk about it really being tied to an industry where the whole point of what we do, the whole value of UKG that we offer to our customers is to help them, create their own culture, lead their people, and improve the work lives of their people. And so that's why you see, yes, it's a smiley face. It's actually two people looking at each other in that U. That's and also a smiley face, right? Because it really is. We want it to be there from our tagline to our logo, that everyone understands that we start with people. Even the way we do analytics, our AI engine was built on natural language processing first, not on transactional AI that most do it. We actually started with language because language we felt was the most, was the closest thing to the personification or the understanding of people and the emotions and sentiment that people have when working with the system. We felt that was the area that we needed to go after first and understand, because people really was the driver of everything else. Even in our software, we could easily get eventually to the analytics of transactions that happen. I mean, we've done that, but truly, like, just to give you an idea, like, that's where we start. We started with an engine that thought about sentiment and how people feel, worked on it for ourselves, and then converted that into something that would be a part of our product, as an example. So people is not just in the tagline and not just in our culture. It's now evolved. It's in how we think about our software. It's in how our solutions function.
Super cool. And it's also always really interesting to hear a little bit more context on logos and where they come from. And even just thinking about like how to reflect sentiments in data. Obviously like it's surveys, but technology has empowered us to do it in more ways than just that. So super cool. And I got to say, like, since we've been doing Wyncode for about 7 years, and since day one, Ultimate UKG now has been like the gold standard, the place where everybody wants to work, always revered as like a great team, great people, great place to work, great opportunities for career growth. And kudos for that, because obviously it's great that that's your flag, because that's always going to attract great people. And I think ultimately has brought in, also cultivated great people here, but also brought in really great people into the market. So I was curious to learn a little bit more about, like, there are people outside of South Florida who would say, wow, building a tech team in South Florida, you're crazy, that'll never work. So you've obviously been doing this for a little while, so I'm sure you think otherwise, but I'd be curious to know kind of what has worked, what hasn't. How have you built, in particular, the technology team here in South Florida? And
sure. Well, first off, thank you for the compliment. It means a lot. We're very proud of what we built on that sentiment. So in terms of South Florida, yeah, South Florida is an awesome place to build a tech team, quite honestly. And it actually hasn't been as hard as many people think. But definitely, I actually do. It's probably the most asked question by other CTOs or others when I'm at conferences, or even when certain large companies like Amazon are looking to relocate here and they want to interview and understand how to do it. It's like the first thing that they question is, well, how do you get the talent pool? Like, how does that work? And so we are proud to be from and at and built in South Florida. Even today, 65 to 67% of the technologists on my team are in South Florida. And so I think the first thing that we wanted to make sure that we did is we wanted to make sure that we got all the talent that were coming out of the universities before they left. So one key thing that we tried to do, and I think we've been pretty successful at, is we went after all the homegrown talent before they got a chance to be whisked off to Silicon Valley or some other place after they finished in the university. And so we work very closely with University of Florida, FIU, NSU, now starting to probably work a little with FAU, but definitely we wanted to make sure, it's kind of like we didn't want to lose any of the talent out of South Florida, because we wanted everyone to know you didn't have to leave to have a really cool job in technology. And so that's been a big part of what we do. Last I checked, in my current leadership team, I believe 40% of the leaders at one point were what we call tech stars, meaning they came out of that program that we grabbed out of the universities. And at our height, I think 40% of my hires were coming out of that tech star program. I think now it's more 25%, but a good percentage there. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we did is we made sure to sell that we're not Silicon Valley, and that's worked a lot. Believe it or not, there's a lot of great talent that went out west, did the game out there, and realized that if you just want to burn yourself out, knock yourself out, you can do that. But if you've reached now a point where you want kind of a full life, a whole life concept, then where you work and the rest of it matters. And that's where, honestly, the ability to really look someone in the eye and say, not only do I want you to grow as a technologist, I want you to grow as a person and have a full life, not just work 12 hours a day in somewhat of almost a sweatshop type environment at times, just to get a release out. And that also has allowed us to take some pretty good talent from some big companies that people were just at a different part of their life or just wanted to do something a little different. So those two have really gone a long way, and I think I would contribute most of that. And last but not least, it doesn't hurt to have a really good equity plan. And when you have a successful company and it continues to grow and do well, we've always believed in sharing equity with every employee. And especially on the tech side, probably even more. So kind of percentage ratio to bonuses to be much more equity, so that they also can enjoy or be a part of the success. That goes a long way, because you can get equity still smaller companies out west, but it's much more of a crapshoot versus when it's a really well-established, well-known growth pattern of a company. So those have really would have done it, I think.
Awesome. So great to hear that.
And simple thing, going back to you as a leader. I mean, you've been working at the company for some time. You're now the CTO. You've obviously worked your way up. What do you think is really attributed to your professional success as somebody who's obviously started, a few rungs down the ladder and obviously got more or less to the top?
So the biggest part, I'd say, and I think it's true, and I consider myself a technologist first, and almost everything else after that is I've always had a love and a curiosity at how technology works, but almost more importantly, the value of that technology. So not just technology for technology's sake, but the understanding that when in the area of a business or a customer base that you serve, to understand the power and value that that brings, and to continuously learn all about that. And I mean, every aspect of what determines value, to how the technology works, to how it scales, to what's next, what it replaces, all of that. And I would say earlier in my journey, much more of it was just in that realm, just pure improving and learning as a technologist, and just kind of working and understanding the power of what that meant, and always learning, like those two things collectively. Then I'd say, though, at some point, once you hit leadership areas, and it moved into just learning how to empower really motivated people that were talented and create a common focus or common goal. And in doing that, magic happened as a leader. And so I think those are the two things. It's a base of understanding of the technology and understanding the power of technology and value of technology. And then as a leader, it's learning that the real power of leadership is helping people understand why they do what they do versus telling them what to do. And then getting really talented people, giving them a really clear goal, and get the hell out the way. And when you do that, amazing things happen. And including, to your point, as a leader, being able to move up from, basically a solutions architect on, infrastructure and virtualization when I got here, to now being able to be a CTO.
Pretty amazing journey. I mean, it's really, really inspiring. And, in my previous life, I was in corporate, and it's not always, even though there's a clear path for a career trajectory in some cases, there does come a time where there's that leap to chief executive, and that gap, making that leap is like, there is no roadmap for that. It's probably, maybe there is, but I find that it's been different for everyone. And so I'm wondering, you said something that, I think about a lot too, which is having the mindset of always learning. And I'm just wondering, in the moments where you did face challenge or potentially failure, like how did you, how does one learn to have that mentality? Can
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's something that I think, so there's a part that is learned. I really do think you can, and if not, learn how to do that jump, because you're right, you just have to do the jump. It's one of those, when you get there, then it's sink or swim, but you can prep for what it means to jump in that water and know what you're supposed to do, at least. And I do think a growth mindset is extremely important and powerful. And it really does start with, honestly, it's almost a recognition that no matter how talented, no matter how smart, no matter how technical or what expertise you are, the expertise and capability of a team is going to beat that of an individual at any time. And it was this transition to, wow, the next level or layer is, how do you build those teams? The same way you built your capabilities and technologies, how do you build those muscles and skills of leading teams, the same way you built the muscles and skills of being able to code, or being able to be a sysadmin, or being able to problem solve, or whatever your expertise was before that, if that's how your journey was. And so it was really that moment of, ooh, that's more powerful, that's how to do it. And I do think any type of researching and reading, anything you do around what's called a growth mindset, I think would definitely prepare someone as much. But at the end of the day, your fight or flight skill on that is going to be different for everyone. I know some very, very incredibly brilliant people that didn't want to do or couldn't do that jump. They're doing brilliant things as innovators and architects and everything else that they just said, but that jump into true leading of teams or into an executive suite it's not just something that you can learn too, but it's also something you have to realize, is that in you? Because it's no longer even about your capability. In many cases, it's about your ability to care, lead, and look through the eyes of others more than yourselves. And not everyone can do that.
Yeah, totally. So many things to juggle there. So interesting.
Yeah. So we only have a few more minutes left, but I want to take this back to kind of you, your family's, your hobby for a second. And one of the key questions here, and probably the toughest question of the podcast, is: do you prefer Xbox, PlayStation, or PC?
That is a hard-hitting question, Joe. You do not mess around. And I'm gonna bail because my answer is all of them. They each have a purpose, and they each have a different genre of game, if you will, that I prefer to play on. So definitely on the consoles, I love my sport gaming is all on there, and on the computer, I do first person shooters and action games there, along with any simulation games I like on PC. And then sometimes there's games that only come out on the PlayStation that don't come out on the Xbox, and then I'll play those as such. But I play all of the above, and probably play more than I should. But it's my guilty pleasure that I enjoy. So.
Yeah, I'm going to tell everyone coming in to prepare for the podcast, we always have about 10-15 minutes with the guests. And John and Joe, both being such avid gamers, I think spent half the time sharing tips on their favorite game. So that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I think the conclusion here is we're all nerds and proud of it.
As you should. Great. Well, we always love to close out the podcast with a little rapid fire. So the first rapid fire question I have is: what is the book on your nightstand currently? What are you currently reading?
Right now, I'm reading because I have an incredible coach that I leverage, and he sends me holiday reading, and I just got it last week. I'm reading it now. It's Patrick Lencioni's The Motive.
Oh, love Patrick Lencioni.
Yeah, well, my coach actually worked for Patrick, so usually the reading has at least one Lencioni tie there. But Brad, it's a great book, by the way. So that's what I'm reading right now. So
that's great. Would you recommend it so far?
Yeah, I would recommend it for those that are in a senior leadership kind of position. If you're just getting into leadership, sure, there's always some nuggets there, but it wouldn't be as powerful as I think it is for someone who's been more of a veteran at it.
Great. What is your most productive time of day?
So COVID has messed all that up. It used to be between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. Because that's when the house and everything was quiet. Mm-hmm. And I'd already gamed enough. And so then it was just me getting ready for the next day and my thoughts. So it used to be, that hour. Changed with COVID, everything's kind of rearranged. Actually, I'm finding the mornings now, as now I'm going to bed earlier and waking up earlier. And so actually I'd say now it's probably 7 to 8:30 in the morning. Okay,
great. And on that note, what time do you go to bed?
So that has changed. It used to be about 1:30, 2 a.m. Now I'm out sleeping at like midnight. So I don't know if that's just me getting older, but yeah.
That's great. And what time do you wake up?
Around 6:30, unless it's a weekend. On the weekend, I'll just till I have to get out of bed. So.
That's awesome. Favorite podcast, if you listen to podcasts?
Okay, so technology-wise, it would be ThoughtWorks. Technology one is really good. I'm a big ThoughtWorks fan of Ben Fowler. And then Questlove Supreme is my non-tech one, and that's Questlove from The Roots. Has an incredible podcast about music and history and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. That's super cool. I got to check that out. And then is there a motto, a mantra, quote that you live by? And if so, what is that?
I would say, I guess it's the advice that has been the most useful throughout my life, has been treat others the way you want to be treated. It's simple to the point, but it just holds in so many different aspects of life. So.
And last question, we're going to keep it super short, but what is one bit of advice you have for aspiring tech leaders in South Florida?
Yeah, best advice I could give you is always be learning, like continuously be growing and learning, and look for whatever might just be outside your comfort zone. That means you should go tackle it. It doesn't mean you should shy away from it. So growth, focus on growth.
Awesome. Well, we are at time, but wanted to thank you again, John. Of course, for those listening in, you can go to palmbeachtech.org, learn how to get more involved in our South Florida tech community. We'd love for you to tune into the podcast, get involved in some events that are coming up here. But also want to give a shout out to our sponsors at Wyncode, where Joe is the co-founder, CEO of. If you're looking to get involved in technology and learn a thing or two, they have really amazing courses for web development, UI, UX, digital marketing, and all of them really online now. So, the time is better than ever to get involved with Wyncode and learn something new in technology. So thank you, Joe. And thank you so much, John, for spending some time here on the podcast with us.
Thank you.
Guys.
Have a good day, everybody. Bye.